Hello, welcome to this week's Tax Chat, a program brought to you by Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA. I'm your host, Alice Lungu. Today in studio with me, we have Manager Excise, Mr. Gabriel KABANDA, and Assistant Inspector, Ms. Florence MUNAKOMBWE from Zambia Revenue Authority. And we continue our discussion on excise duty. If you're a manufacturer, importer, or service provider involved in excisable goods or services, then this program is especially for you. Our focus today is on understanding your responsibilities and obligation as a taxpayer. In our previous program, we looked at the important topics of registration and licensing, highlighting why it's essential for every taxpayer to understand and comply with their tax obligation. Mr. Kabanda and Ms. Florence, good to have you back on Tax Chat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. We're happy to be here.
Okay. Today, we continue with the topic, which is excise duty. Florence, we wanted to understand, looking at our previous discussion on registration and licensing of manufacturers, importance or service providers involved in excisable goods and services. What a tax obligation in line with this?
Thank you so much, Alice. So, tax obligations, these are duties businesses must follow when they are registered to produce excisable goods. So these rules, they help in collecting the taxes correctly and ensure that these businesses are operating legally.
Okay. What are the obligations? Maybe elaborate further on these rules at taxpayer obligations.
Okay, so we have quite a number of obligations, or rather these rules, and some people understand them as expectations that taxpayers are supposed to follow through. So I will list a number of them, although we'll delve deeper into explaining what really these obligations are. And among the list, I can mention that taxpayers are supposed to submit their returns, which is return submission. They are supposed to pay their taxes on time. That is what we call as timely payments. We have what we call record keeping as an obligation. We have display of a valid license. We have renewal of license as one of the obligations, and we also have stock taking as part of our obligations, as well as notice on suspension of companies, yes, or closure of plant. Yes, so we'll continue to mention as we discuss further, but I'll speak to two of those obligations, which is return submission. So taxpayers are expected to submit their returns on due date or before, but we always recommend that you submit your returns before the due date. And in this case, speaking of local excise, from our previous discussion, we said that local excise due date is the 15th of the month following the month of the activities. So if you did your activities in January, meaning February, by the 15th of February, you should have submitted your returns. And we talked about the OMCs, which have different due dates. This is according to uplift period. Yes. So we expect that the taxpayers are able to file in their returns on the 15th or before. So when the window opens on the 1st of that month, you submit your returns and make your payments. That should lead me to the second obligation that I wanted to talk about, which is the timely payments. So as we said, the returns are submitted between the period of the 1st to the 15th of the month, meaning the payment as well falls in that period. By the 15th of that period, for that month, you would have filed the return and made the payment.
Okay. Mr. Kabanda, I know Florence had mentioned about record keeping obligation. Maybe we want to understand what is it?
Thank you, Alice. Record keeping basically speaks to the expectations regarding the records that we expect businesses to keep.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses are supposed to keep records for a minimum period of 6 years. And these records will basically speak to what did you purchase in that particular period, what did you sell, what did you produce. So basically, that is what record keeping is about.
Okay. And what kind of records should manufacturers and services providers keep?
For manufacturers of excisable products, record keeping has to be in line with, firstly, a record of the goods that entered the licensed premises, a record of goods that were manufactured on that licensed premises, a record of goods that left the licensed premises, a record of goods that might have been lost or consumed in any process of that manufacturing process. We also expect manufacturers to keep a record of goods that are on stock, like stock in hand, and that will include also the input materials. Remember, we mentioned that manufacturers have to give us these records. So in case of a manufacturer that's maybe producing, I'll give an example of a big beer, we might expect them to keep a record of the raw materials that go into the manufacturing process. That is actually very important. Then other than that, we also expect taxpayers to keep a record of all the excise duty that is paid or payable. So that will basically include both sides. If at all there are any goods that have already left the manufacturing process, the manufacturing plant, we expect that manufacturers are going to keep that record and indicate that, okay, from these goods that were sold, this is the excise duty that was paid. If at all there are any goods that are yet to leave the manufacturing premises, but they're already produced, then they need to indicate that, okay, from what we've produced, this is the payable excise duty amount.
Okay.
Then with regards to service providers, here we're talking about the mobile network operators as well as the internet service providers. What is required firstly is to keep a record of all the airtime that has been sold. So that's the first one. Then secondly, they need to keep a stock of any airtime that has been either lost or consumed during the process of rendering that service of providing the airtime. And lastly, we need to have a record of all the excise duty that is paid or payable.
Okay. Florence, tell us about the display of a valid license.
Okay. So taxpayers should know that the local excise license should be valid each year and should be displayed at the business premise so that the public can be able to see it as well as inspectors, because most times we go to these premises to do an inspection and you find that they have not displayed. So we are here to remind them that it is by law that that document should be displayed for us to see as well as the public. So take a for instance, you have a business client that has come to your premise or rather coming to purchase your goods and you do not have your license there. How sure are they that you are actually in line with the law when you are producing that good or service? Yes, so to avoid all those inconveniences, we are here to actually remind the taxpayers that they should be able to display that document in their business premises.
Okay, very, very important.
Yes.
And when should an excise license be renewed?
Okay, so an excise license, it's only valid for a year, that is January to December. So we are expecting that taxpayers renew their license or apply for their renewal by the 31st of December each year. taking account of the fact that it is just an annual thing, so it has to be renewed yearly.
Okay.
Yes.
In case you've just tuned in, you are watching Text Chat, and today we are looking at understanding excise duty. In helping us look at that, in studio with me is Miss Florence and Mr. KABANDA from Zambia Revenue Authority. For now, we go on a short break. We'll be right back. Do not go away.
Today, you probably helped save a life. Or perhaps helped keep a watchful eye on a neighborhood. Today, you probably helped put food on someone's table. Or help build a road that leads to a destiny. You may have even helped shape the minds of our future. By paying your taxes, you help keep critical medical staff in a job, a school to run, or a neighborhood safe, and a whole lot more. Your taxes help Zambia become better for you and me. Zambia Revenue Authority. My tax, your tax, our destiny.
Welcome back. Here watching Tax Chat, and today we are looking at understanding excise duty. To talk to us, you can simply call us using the numbers that will soon show on the screen, or better still, you can follow us on Facebook and send in your contribution. And to talk to ZRA, you can call them on the number 4111. And yes, we are looking at excise duty. Just to dive into another question, Mr. KABANDA, what happens if a business is sold or it's located to another area?
If a business is sold or located to another area, we need to first of all link it to the license that was issued to that particular business. Each business that is producing an excisable product is licensed. Mm-hmm. The particular plant where the manufacturing process is taking place from is actually licensed. So if that business decides to relocate to a different location, the first thing that happens is that that license that was issued is deemed to have been surrendered to ZRA. Okay. Unless before that movement was done, prior approval was gotten from the Commissioner General for that transfer to happen. That is the only instance when the business will move together with a license. But if that doesn't happen, then that license is deemed to be surrendered to ZRA.
Okay. And we talk about stock taking.
Stock taking is very important, and it's actually one of the obligations that we expect taxpayers to actually comply with. With stock taking, what we're basically talking about is taxpayers and businesses are supposed to, at any time, allow officers from Zambia Revenue Authority to take stock of any stock that has been produced or any stock that might have been produced previously and it's carried forward. Basically, you have to allow officers from Zambia Revenue Authority access to your plant to undertake this important activity of stock taking.
Okay. Florence, what must a business do before closing or stopping production?
Okay, so for a business that intends to cease operations, we are advising them to come to our office and give us the written letter. They need to write to us as ZRA to inform us that they would love to close and give us the reasons as to why they want to cease operation.
Okay. Yes. And what must be done after operations stop?
Okay. So once operations have ceased, we expect the taxpayer to give us a full report of what has been sold in that period after seizure, and after giving us the stock that is remaining in the premise, or rather the machinery and every other details and records of everything, every procedure, every transaction that has been made in that period. At least this activity should be done in the period of 20 days. So in between 20 days after ceasing operation, they should be able to give us that full report of the details that we want to know in terms of their production as well as the stock remaining.
Okay. Mr. Kabanda, can a business change its factory or add new equipment without informing authorities?
The simple answer to that question is no. What's supposed to happen is whenever a business wants to, for instance, we're talking about a manufacturing business, maybe due to an increase in business, you may want to add maybe an extra line to that manufacturing process. But before that can be done, there needs to be prior approval that is gotten to ZRA. So you actually need to notify ZRA of the intention to add a different line maybe to that particular product range that the manufacturer produces. That has to be done before the intended maybe alteration to that particular process. Other than that, there could be maybe you want to build maybe a parallel plant to the one that is existing. So still, with that one, we need to have that prior notice given to ZRA so that we can come through and basically verify what is in the ground. We have to verify in terms of what particular products are you going to be producing. Is it the same as the license that you've applied for? Or are you maybe increasing the product range and applying for a different product, in which case we'd have to issue with another license. And alterations is not limited to maybe the machinery or the plant itself. It can also actually include maybe just adding a facility such as a canteen to the business, because some taxpayers will find themselves in a situation where maybe they want to provide food to their employees. But before that can happen, there still needs to be that approval. There has to be a notice by the taxpayer to ZRA, basically asking that such a thing happens, and we'll have to approve it.
Florence, a situation where you notice or on suspicion of closure of plant, what happens?
Okay, so expectations that we have of taxpayers when they close their plant or they cease operation, there are quite a number of them, and I think I'll speak to them. So we expect them to give us an advance notice. Okay, so this is what I previously spoke about. They need to give us a written letter. They need to write to Zambia Revenue Authority to notify Zambia Revenue Authority that they are ceasing operation and give us reasons as to why. And this is done 30 days before. So that is like a month before you decide to close or stop production. You should be able to communicate with Zambia Revenue Authority about your business. Yes, and we'll also speak to submission of returns. When a business wants to close or stop operating, they should be able to submit all returns, because for all processes, be it suspension or closure, we are always advising taxpayers to file in all their returns, because either way, the system cannot close your account when you do not file in all your returns and you apply for a suspension or deregistration on the system. So when you intend to close your business as a taxpayer, please file in all your returns, settle all the liabilities that are sitting on the system, and then you can apply for suspension or deregistration in that manner. So I'll also speak to accounting for stock and duty. Yes, so stock that has remained after closure of the business, it has to be accounted for, and those reports should be submitted to Zambia Revenue Authority. In any case that we come to inspect and we find that you have been making sales even after closing, or rather telling us that you have closed and you have not actually accounted for that stock that you have actually sold after the production has ceased, that could attract some penalties on you. Yes, so we actually urge taxpayers to actually account for all the stocks and give us that a report. Like I mentioned, it is in the period of 20 days after the seizure of operations that we expect that report, so that we are in line with what you are doing, and we are also knowledgeable in any case that we actually visit your premise. Yes, so when a company is intending to close, we also do an inspection. We have to do a physical inspection so that we're also able to see really that you are going to close that business, because there are instances where you find that a taxpayer
change their
is
mind.
yes, they do change their mind. Not only that, they'll tell you that they have closed the business, and yet they're
Meanwhile,
operating in
they're
in the background illegally.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so to avoid that, it's better we come through, and you cannot close that business without us coming to inspect and approve of your closure. We really need to see that you have actually stopped the operations, and those reasons are valid enough for me to be convinced that you have stopped the business. Yeah. So I'll speak to the last one, which is resuming operations. Similarly, like I said, inspections are done for the closure. It is the same case with operations. So once you close and you want to resume, we still have to come and inspect. So it is at our word that you have to inspect, which is the CG's word for you to begin the process again. And we'll still go back to how we do it with pre-inspections as well as licensing. So that is the same procedure that we go through when someone wants to resume after they had stopped operating. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Kabanda, what happens if a taxpayer fails to pay excise a return on time?
What happens if they fail to pay excise on time is, first of all, there are going to be some penalties that will be levied on that particular taxpayer. Then other than that, there might also be interest that will accrue on that late payment. So this interest is tied to the Bank of Zambia interest rate, and some calculations are done basically to arrive at the late interest that will accrue to that particular late payment. Then other than that, we might go a step further as ZRA actually. In the events that a taxpayer has been engaged, because obviously we'll have to start with engagement first. There might be a lot of reasons why a taxpayer has not filed or has not paid for that filed return on time. So we'll have to start with the engagement. We engage. If at all of these measures are not yielding any result, then we have to take a step further in terms of enforcement. So we might actually garnish your bank account so that we can recover that money, or use other debt enforcement measures that are at our disposal as ZRA.
Your concluding remarks on excise duty.
Well, in concluding, we would like to maybe mention a few things that pertain to licensed manufacturers. There are a few issues that might arise in terms of taxpayers that are licensed as manufacturers. So I'll go into mentioning a few offenses that they might commit, so that it's known that maybe doing certain things is at par with the law. So the first thing that I'll mention is we've talked about record keeping. So in the events that you do not keep your records, it's actually an offense. And in this record keeping, we are basically talking about what goods came into the licensed premises, what goods left, what goods were manufactured. So such records are supposed to be kept by licensed manufacturers. Then other than that, if you fail, it's one thing to keep a record. You say, okay, this is a book where we record what is coming in. This is a book where we record what's going out. But you not indicating in that book that this is actually the quantity of a particular maybe raw material that has come into the plant, that's also an offense. So that has to be indicated. Each time that there is activity, there has to be that indication in those records. If it's a physical book, at least you have to write in that physical book. If it's maybe an electronic, you have to still indicate in that electronic record that you're keeping. Then other than that, if you are erasing, you've already entered, say, I'll give an example, maybe 100,000 liters of beer left the premises. And maybe after the fact, you erase or obliterate or basically tear that particular paper. That is also a serious offense under ZRA. Then other than that, I can speak to you not allowing an officer to actually inspect. We've talked about stock taking. We've talked about ZRA officers verifying that maybe the closure has happened or he wants to resume. You not allowing officers to come in is also a serious offense as a manufacturer, because by virtue of you getting that license, these are some of the obligations that were placed on that particular taxpayer. Then I'll also speak to filing returns. If you fail to file that return, it's a serious offense and there are penalties that are applicable. But it just doesn't end at filing a return, because I can file a return. For instance, I sold 10,000 liters, but I falsely submit a return which is saying 5,000 liters. So filing that false return is also a serious offense that we wouldn't want taxpayers to commit. And other than that, I can speak to operations of the manufacturer in terms of disposals or anything that might actually leave the plant. You have to basically indicate and notify ZRA in terms of anything that will require notification. So these offenses, just to elaborate, are very serious. And in addition to any other penalty that may be involved, you might actually forfeit the goods that have been manufactured, whether or not excise duty has been paid or not. So that's just a reminder to say, let's ensure that these obligations are adhered to at all times.
Florence, your concluding remarks?
Okay, and you just reminded me something. Many taxpayers would ask this question: who needs to file a return? And when do you file the return? That question is a twofold kind of question. It's not only about the date when you need to file the return. Why do I say so? You find a situation where a company, or rather a business, is not operating and they stop filing returns. Asking them the question, they will tell you, we are not operating. So we are here to remind the taxpayers that it is by law that they should file the return, provided they are on any tax type. That is a rule. They need to file the return. When you are not operating as a business, you need to still file that return. Return filing is a sign of compliance. And then, when you do not file, you attract penalties. And then the time they decide to operate, they want to now show how serious they are and compliant they are. They attract the penalties and they fail to pay. So to avoid all those things, file in your returns and ensure that you pay all liabilities that are sitting, to ensure that you are compliant and you do your business successfully. Thank you.
Well, Florence and Mr. Kabanda, it's been a pleasure having you on Tax Chat.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Alice.
you so much, Alice.
And it's a pleasure.
Pleasure is ours.
Thank you. We've come to the end of the program. I believe you have learned one or two things about excise duty. Don't forget to tune in again next time as we bring to you another topic. Remember, it's my tax, your tax, our destiny.